Hi everybody, it's Alexa here from Once Upon a Chapter, and I'm here the day after BookTube-a-Thon so I can talk to you about what I read for the second half of day 5 and what I read on days 6 and day 7 of BookTube-a-Thon, and then at the very end I'll just do a very quick wrap-up of everything in total that I read. So when we last left off on the beginning part of day 5, which was filmed in a different video, I had finally finished the last 100 pages or so that I had left of The School for Good and Evil. So that was what I had read the morning of the 5th, or not the morning of the 5th, the morning of the 5th day of the readathon. So for the second half of the 5th day of the readathon, I started and completed the 242 pages of Stealing Parker. I didn't love this one, but it was pretty easy for me to read. I basically sat down and read it in just an entire night while Johnny was at the gym for about 2 hours or so. So yeah, I kind of just sat down and pretty much started and completed this in the majority of the later part of the day of Friday. So that's what I managed to read during the 5th day of the readathon. During the 6th day of the readathon, I picked up Saga Volume 3, and I read this in its entirety, which was, 100 and some, graphic novel pages, whatever. I'm not really counting that as real pages, though. And then I also started and got about 75 pages into A Curious Tale of the In-Between, and that was all I read that day. I don't really know how that's all I read, probably because Johnny and I went out. We went out shopping, and we went to a movie, and we went out to dinner, so we were pretty busy, and by the time we got home, I was just kind of tired and went to sleep. So I started this on day 6, and like I said, I got about 70-some pages into it, and I finished this on the morning of day 7, so I read from page 77 to 226 and finished this. After that, I was kind of just looking at my shelves, and I wasn't really certain that I wanted to start another one of the books that I had on my original pile for the BookTube-a-Thon. So at that point, I was looking at my shelves behind me, and I saw The Shadows still sitting there, which is a book that I started a couple months back, around the time that it came out, which usually these books come out, I think, in like March to April time, late March, early April. I think I started it in April or May, and I still hadn't finished it, and I had about roughly 200 pages left. So I went ahead and I was reading this for a good chunk of the later morning to early afternoon. I think I finally finished this around 1:30 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'm just really excited to say that I finished it. It was pretty much all I wanted to do for the last day of the BookTube-a-Thon, was just kind of finish this book, even though it wasn't on my original pile, because it was staring me in the face, and I felt like I had too many books that I was partway through and not finished with, so I really wanted to just finish this and get it off my Goodreads page, get it off everything, make it be completed. Sorry, my voice is all cracking. But yeah, I'm really glad that I finished this. After that, I realized it was still early enough that I could read something else if I wanted to, so I took a small break to just do some daily life activities. And then before I was going to bed, it was probably, 7 o'clock in the evening, I was just looking through my shelves trying to pick out my August to-be-read pile, and I picked up a book just thinking, oh, okay, I'll just read a couple pages of it just to kind of get myself familiarized with where the story left off, and get myself, maybe a couple pages into this one. Well, a couple pages ended up being that I read 137 pages of this. This is Magic Slays, which also wasn't on my to-be-read pile, but it was something that I was already picking out for myself to read for the rest of August, now that BookTube-a-Thon is over, sadly. So it's a book I wanted to start in August, and I thought I was just going to read, like I said, a couple pages, see if I really wanted it on my August pile or not, and then put it on my August pile and just wait until August to read it and be done with BookTube-a-Thon. But like I said, I started reading a couple pages of it, and then I read the last couple pages of the book prior to this, because this is book 5 in the series, so I remembered a lot of what happened in 4, but I just wanted to remember the last couple pages of it. As I said, I just became engrossed with this one, which is really no problem to me. I had plenty of time. It was only about 7 o'clock in the night. So I stayed up for a little bit. I think I read, for 2 hours or so, because I read about 60 pages an hour. So I read this one for about 2 hours and got 137 pages into this one, which I really want to continue reading this one tonight. So we'll see if I have the time to do that. So a little sneak into my August to-be-read pile. Now you guys know that I do want to continue reading this one. throughout the rest of August, maybe even have it done in the next couple nights if I get a chance to finish it. So all in total, everything that I read consists mostly of the books I just showed you. So as a total, I read The School for Good and Evil. This book was in total like 400 and almost 500 pages. 488 pages for The School of Good and Evil. I read the entirety of Stealing Parker, which was 142 pages. A Curious Tale of the In-Between, which was 226 pages. I read 137 pages of Magic Slays. I read not quite 200 pages, more like 175 pages to finish The Shadows. I read Saga, Volume 3 in its entirety, and I think I got like 40 pages or so into P.S. I Still Love You by Jenny Han. So all in all, I'm saying that I read the challenge for read a book without letting go of it, which I did not let go of Saga while I was reading it. I read the book that I really, really wanted to read, which was A Curious Tale of the In-Between. I read a book that the author shares the same first letter of your last name, because her last name starts with a K, and so does mine. And I also read a book that I had recently acquired. I guess this challenge could also count for the cover that has blue on it, or so could Saga Volume 3. So I guess there's some challenges mixed in there. I'm not really sure that I'm going to be finishing P.S. I Still Love You by Jenny Han, just because as I started reading the beginning of that story, it really reminded me of the things I didn't like in the first book, and I didn't give the first book that high of a rating to begin with. So I'm thinking I'm just going to be done with that series. I do like The Summer I Turned Pretty series a little bit better by Jenny Han. So I think I'm just going to kind of, say I read To All the Boys I've Loved Before and just kind of move on from there and just kind of let the series go for me. I'm not really sure it's for me. But, so in total, I'm saying that's actually a pretty great reading week for me. I managed to read 3 novels in total, a graphic novel in its entirety, managed to finish a really big chunk of a book that I wanted to finish, and get almost halfway into another book. So, in total, I'm considering that, I read well over 1,000 pages this week alone. So I'm considering that to be a big success for me because I haven't been reading as much lately, so I'm really glad that I got through a lot of these books and that I got myself finished with some books and partway through other books. So that is definitely good enough for me. That is everything that I read during BookTube-a-Thon. I know I didn't complete all of the challenges, nor would I have time to read 7 books in 7 days, considering I work 40 hours a week plus I'm on call certain nights. So it's just a pretty good week for reading, and I'll take it as a win. I'm counting it as a win, even though I didn't complete all 7 challenges, nor did I read 7 books. But anyway, if you guys have a video, or you guys did a wrap up from BookTube-a-Thon, or you guys have read any of these books and you have comments on them, go ahead and leave them in the, just go ahead and comment, on the blog, here on YouTube, whatever, wherever you're watching the video from. Alright, thanks for watching, guys. Bye!